Hi everyone, Talks from Crits Happen here. I am back with a video where I'm going to walk through the tutorials for Castles of Burgundy, the digital game from Digidiced. Now this is on Steam, you're going to see this through my PC. There's a lot to take in here and a lot to talk about. I'm going to walk through the tutorials, but I'm not going to read the actual script and what's happening. Essentially, there is Philip the Good, who really should be Philip the Okay, given his AI is not that great, and Isabella the Good, who is good. They're going to walk you through the different things about the game. I wanted to show this to you as if you are a fan of Castles of Burgundy, the board game, and are interested in potentially getting the digital version, I think this is a great place to start. I am going to plan a review and my opinions as well in another video, but for right now, let's walk through the tutorials and talk to you whether you're familiar or whether you're not about this game. So what is Castles of Burgundy? Well, it is a board game turned into digital here, where every turn you use 2 dice to take actions. Those actions are going to consist of different things to allow you to build out your estate. So it's a bit of action selection, it's a bit of dice manipulation, and it's a bit of resource management. What we're going to talk about are the 4 main actions, and you'll see here we're going to talk about the different regular actions you can take on your turn. They are all on these tabs along the circular outline of your board, and you can click on those tabs to launch the actual action, or you can click on the individual tiles as well to potentially launch the action as well. The first action is going to be to take a tile from the depots, which are 6 depots along the top of the board, and you're going to take one of those tiles and put them into your personal supply. Your personal supply can have up to 3 tiles, and you can manipulate your dice using workers. Meaning, if I wanted to take a item in depot number 1, but I rolled a 2 and a 4, I can use a worker to turn that 2 into a 1 and thus take it. In this case, the tutorial allows us to take a tile from the number 2 because we rolled a number 2. The second action is once you have a tile in your personal reserve, you can then place it on the board. And in order to do that, you need to have both a tile of the same matching color as the area on your board, and you have to have rolled a number equal to one of those open areas. More importantly, it has to be adjacent to a tile already in your estate. So you start the game with a castle tile, and there's a couple of different ways you can start a game, which we'll talk about in the review video as well, which is really kind of cool, is there is an asymmetrical start to the game. When you place tiles, you're going to gain victory points for them. In addition, you're going to be able to buy from the black market as in addition to what you can get from the normal depots as well. In order to do that, though, you're going to get silverlings, and there are 2 main ways to get silverlings, either through selling goods or through potentially different knowledge tiles and different things that will come up throughout the game. And there's also mine tiles, M-I-N-E, mine tiles that you can place as well. Now, you see here we're going to walk through and you get to see what some of the other characters are doing. So you see what Isabella is doing, you see what Philip is doing as well. There is a lot visually to this, and if you are familiar with Castles of Burgundy, the board game, a lot of this may look a little shocking to you. It was to me at first too, but stick with me. After multiple plays of this game, it does get much, much easier. Selling goods is another action. It's a third action you can take. You'll notice that each good has a color and a number associated to it. Here you see that we have 2 goods of the number 5 type and 1 good of the number 1 type. Whenever you sell, you get victory points, and the victory points vary depending on the number of players in the game. But more importantly, when you sell, it keeps track of them just below it. So you notice we just sold a number 5, and you can see here there is a number 5 telling us that we sold 2 goods of the number 5 type. This is important as there are knowledge tiles that will give you bonuses based on the types of goods you've sold. Victory points are going to get tracked in the golden chevron, I guess is the right way to say it. Ever since seeing Stargate, I can't get the word chevron out of my mind 20 years later, but that's the way it is. The final action is being able to get 2 workers. And as I mentioned before, you can use 2 workers to manipulate a die's value up 1 or down 1. You can turn a 1 into a 6 and a 6 into a 1. The tutorials are fabulous. I highly suggest, even if you're an experienced player of Lords of Waterdeep, if you're an experienced player The tutorials are fabulous, and even if you are an experienced player for Castles of Burgundy, I highly recommend to walk through them. There's a lot of good information about where the things that you're familiar with using in the game are in this digital app version. As you can see, you can jump from one tutorial right into the next. And the tutorials are very quick, and they're very, very streamlined and very, very well thought out. I think they've done a very good job with this. If you have never played Castles of Burgundy before, it's going to really help you become comfortable with the gameplay style as well. Here you see we're going to be able to potentially place buildings. We're going to talk about some of the different tiles now. There's a glossary, which I think is tremendous. Now you'll see here it's going to scroll through the bottom. In the PC and Mac versions of this, there is a glossary along the left side as well. In addition, there is the kind of the icon reminders at the bottom of the screen. But the nice thing about that is you can either pull up the glossary on the left, or you can double click on a tile, or you can click on the info panel and pull up all the information you need to know about a specific tile. As long as you're not playing an online ranked game, there is no time associated to this, so you can take as much time to read about whatever you would like to. You can learn how castles give you extra actions. You can learn how the animals will give you extra victory points and kind of escalating victory points based on placing the same number of animals into the same pasture. You'll see on this board here, there are 5 hexagons in the upper left. That is one pasture, and then there is a second pasture consisting of only 1 hexagon just to the right and a little bit south of our castle. And a big part of the game is filling up each of these locations, each of these kind of segments and areas, so that you can get additional victory points. It talks a little bit about the ships and how when you send a ship or to your board, you're able to both increase your level on the turn order track and be able to get goods. Here you see that we will take goods from a depot, add them to our goods stack, and be able to sell those later on for more victory points, which are awesome. We're going to flip on to the next tutorial, and Isabella and Philip are still happy with our progress, which is a good thing to know about. In our final lesson here, we're going to learn about how you gain victory points. And of course, gaining victory points is how you win the game, because you're being judged by who can put together the best estate in Burgundy, which is a really fun and neat way to do it. Here we're going to talk about each of the location areas. So each terrain section has a value. You can leave this selected and turned on all the time, or you can just turn it on and off at will, but it shows you how many points you get for filling up that section, and then you get a bonus 10, 8, 6, 4, or 2 based on the round in which you do that. So if you complete something early, that's great, you get a lot of points. If you complete something later, you're going to get less bonus points, but you'll still get the same amount of victory points for that location. So if a location is 28 victory points based on the number of hexagons, it does not matter if you complete it in turn 1 or turn 5, you'll be able to get victory points for that. It's just a matter of the bonus victory points. And this is one of the things that took me a little while to kind of keep track of, is that kind of arcing menu of things on the left. This is a nice feature that I really like, and that and normally when you sit down and play a game and you're at a table, you're able to see the other player's boards really easily. In digital, you don't have that, so they give you the option to jump between different players' boards by simply clicking on their icon on the left. You can see kind of a summary there where it shows you how many silverlings they have, how many workers they have, and how many victory points they have, and how many spaces are taken up. But there's a lot of history and a lot of checking out other people's boards that you can do to keep you up to date and informed on the game state, which is really important because there are a lot of actions in this game. There's a lot of timing in this game, and that's a really important key to it as well. This north thing I don't use very much. You can rotate the board if you want to. The presentation of it and how it works, I've never really found the need to do that. Maybe you like that from an aesthetic perspective. It's a really neat thing because that doesn't happen in the board game, but it kind of is there, so you can do it if you want to do it. After you've learned all of these things, the game then immediately kicks you into your final tutorial. Now, this is the only thing it doesn't really explain very well, but you essentially are in a game now with Isabella and Philip the Good. Again, I think it should be just Philip and Isabella the Good, because Philip's AI is not that sharp and not that witty. But you'll be able to walk through and see some of the gameplay here, and I'll kind of continue on with it here so you can see some of the choices that are made at the beginning of the game. Here I get a mine using a number 6 die and using a worker to turn that down. And then I get a building as well that's going to allow me to select another tile when that's placed. When the animation happens, and this is kind of something interesting to talk about, this is set right now at the fastest animation in the game. When you first play the game, this may seem too fast for you, so there are different settings for the animation. However, for me, I really sometimes wish the fast was almost faster. Once you become very familiar with this game, and mind you, I've probably played close to 40 games of this right now on my iPad, on my phone, and on Steam. It gets really, really kind of like, I want it to go faster, I want it to go faster. But that's okay, that's just a familiarity thing. You can see as you're trying to select different tiles, when you get a bonus there, I placed a building that gave me access to a different tile. It's going to walk you through which depots you can choose from. You can either scroll left and right, or you can click along the top to be able to select them as well. And it'll highlight which tiles are available for you to choose from, which is really kind of cool as well. The game actually, from an aesthetic perspective, may be shocking to players if you're familiar with the board game, but I think from a digital perspective, it does a really good job. I think it actually makes everything pretty logical once you're used to where everything is. The one thing I didn't mention during the tutorials, which is a little harder to kind of capture because of the speed and everything that's moving on here, but you have these arced menus around the board where you have the black market, which is the 6 hexagons. You have the goods that are in the area right below the black market. And then just below your goods areas that you own, there is a round tracker, which has 5 goods laid out. And each round, there's going to be a new good added to a depot. There is the round tracker in terms of A, B, C, D, and E, which phase we're in, which round we're in, and how many bonus points you get for completing a section. And then there's little medallions, which are the first and second player markers, which are awarded to players by completing all of that type of section. So if I am the first person to complete all of my water spaces, I will get the bonus points for being first and get that medallion. Second place, the person that completes all of them would get second place, and so on and so forth. The one thing that's missing from the tutorial and the one thing that's missing from the game itself is when a new round starts, a good is randomly added to a depot at the top of the screen, and that just kind of happens. In the base game, in the board game, you're rolling a die, but it just happens in this. So that is a run through of the tutorials. I think that Digidiced did a great job in the tutorials here. They're clean, they're succinct. While the visual optics of the game may be shocking, it's something that's going to walk you through and help you get more comfortable with it. I hope this has helped you make a decision about the game, and if this is something you want to check out more, be on the lookout for our video, which is going to be a review and a walkthrough, but I'm really excited to hear what you have to say. Leave a comment below in the YouTube channel. Of course, you can chime in on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram by searching Crits Happen. But until we see you next time, we hope you enjoy all of your time inside the digital app by Digidiced of Castles of Burgundy. Thanks so much for watching. Keep rolling those dice, and we hope they're all crits.